Hey there, it's Radiance, and welcome to my channel. I want to talk to you about sacrifice. Now, I really believe that sacrifice is a heavy word. I believe that sacrifice gets a bad rap, and I'm actually going to show you what I mean by that. So, when I pull up the word sacrifice on the internet, the first thing that comes up in a definition is an act of slaughtering an animal or person or surrendering a possession is an offering to God or a divine supernatural figure. It's kind of heavy. That's kind of heavy. Now, I'm not saying that didn't happen in past times and all that. I just feel like it's the first thing that comes up. And then when I scroll down, I can actually show you if you can see that. But if I scroll down, the first thing, and this is me using Google, that comes up below that, the first one was Oxford Languages Dictionary. The second one is dictionary.cambridge.org. And above it says, what is the real meaning of sacrifice? And it says to give something that is valuable to you in order to help another person. And the next sentence is not completed, but it says many women sacrifice interesting careers for their families. And I'm like, why is it, first of all, that a sacrifice, I'm talking about outside of the first definition I read, but why does a sacrifice automatically mean that you're giving up something for someone else, right? And why is it that women are tied to sacrifice so much? Something that happened to me recently that actually lines up with what I just said was I was working with a family, and some things had changed in my schedule, my availability, and a couple of things happened. I had to deal with, a family member, and then I had another contract that came up. So it actually caused me to have to shift my schedule, my availability. I could no longer work with them, and that also meant I had to go to another state. And so when I was having the conversation initially, with the mom of the family and telling her that my schedule was going to change, but I would also work on helping to secure a replacement to help her out, her reaction was, oh, okay. She was like, I'm sorry to hear that. Now I'm going to back up a little bit. After that, I had spoken to her husband. This is separately because she wasn't around. And his response was, oh, we'll be fine. It's okay. But thank you so much. When I spoke to her again after that conversation with her husband, and I didn't mention any of that conversation, her response was, well, I will work it out. I might just have to either, if you can't be here, I might just have to, not go into work or, bring my child to work, which I really don't want to do. Now, just for context, she went back to work, and I was there to assist in some things in her journey to parenthood. Her husband was a freelance worker. And while both of them had their viable careers, I wondered instantly, why is it that she had to be the one to sacrifice what she liked or loved to do, her actual career, if she couldn't have adamant help with her child? Like, why was that? Why was she the first one? Mind you, her schedule was kind of set for the most part. His was a little bit flexible. So why wasn't the first thought that maybe he might have to say no to some things if called last minute? Or maybe he would only be available in the days, because she also had days that she didn't work. If she was just home during the days, he could only take work. And I'm not saying that it was fair for either of them to have to give up what they loved or what they do. I just feel like automatically the woman, the mother, was the one who was already making a sacrifice before the situation even happened, before I left. So I feel like those two things, I feel, are just something that are promoted in our society, promoted in our world, that doesn't have to be. For one, I don't feel that only a woman should have to be the one sacrificing for her family, sacrificing, for her friends. I'm not saying that you should not do any of those things as a woman. Let me be clear about that. What I'm saying is, I don't think that it automatically should go towards a woman, right? And then to my actual point of all of this, when it comes to sacrifice, I truly believe that it starts with us first. I don't believe it's an automatic that, we're sacrificing always we're sacrificing something for someone else, right? I want to kind of twist it around a bit. And I say twist it around meaning, what kind of sacrifices can be made in the positive that you would sacrifice, or things that you would give up, or things that you would change? What kind of things would you then shift, whether it be for the long term or for a temporary amount of time that would serve you, right? Some sacrifices are things we can't help. For example, in my line of work, a lot of what I do is to help families navigate parenthood for the first time, for the second time, for the third time. But a lot of the families I work with, this is their first time being parents, their first journey into parenthood. And I step in a space where I help educate them on what's happening with their baby, or what's happening when they first, babies comes home. I help them through the first beginning journey. But honestly, a lot of the times, I step in and I'm brought in to not just educate and help prepare, but honestly, so that parents can get sleep. And a lot of times it's mom, by the way, just saying. And not to say dad doesn't get sleep, but oftentimes the mother is the one that helping out the most, in a sense, because if, for example, the mother is breastfeeding, she may have to be woken up throughout the night in the early stages because that baby is feeding so much. And so she sometimes doesn't get less sleep. I've been in a home where the husband was knocked out and the mother is the one that's waking up. Now, down the line, sometimes what does happen is, dad or family member may come into play, other family member, but most times it's the mom that's making the sacrifice. So I say that because I've seen firsthand in a family what happens when you have, for example, a child. Most times, if you don't have help, and like I said, if you're not, hiring someone like myself that's going to come in and step in to assist, and this is usually overnight, but sometimes in the day, parents often sacrifice what? What's the number one thing they sacrifice? Sleep. Sleep is the number one thing they sacrifice. Now, that's something that really, that's something that's automatic. When you have a baby, babies sleep and they wake up and they eat and they poop and they go through and they play a little, and then it's the same cycle. And they may eat every 2 hours, And so what ends up happening is when you don't have the help, and sometimes even when you do, you are sacrificing your sleep and your rest because that baby needs care and attention, right? So, same thing. What in your life is needed from you to make a sacrifice by you for you? That should be first and foremost. And I'm not talking about the sacrifices for family and all that, and it's not me dismissing or coming against your family, your loved ones, or anything. I'm talking about you. Where in your life would it be beneficial for you to make some sacrifices that would benefit you, right? Maybe it's in turning off the TV early and not watching too much TV. I'm definitely done that a lot. I have to say I enjoy TV, but I sometimes in my life take moments when I don't watch as much TV, or I shut it down when I'm preparing for something. And instead, before I go to sleep, I'll read a book. Or sometimes if it is a TV or something, the internet, I'll focus more on educational things, or things that are in alignment with what I'm preparing for, or things that are going to better myself as a person, or better me to help me in my career or the work that I'm doing, right? So what things could you be doing today? Is it less TV? Is it going to sleep earlier to get more rest? Is it going to sleep earlier? And I've done this in my life and it's been helpful. Going to sleep earlier so I can get up earlier to do things like meditate and pray. To go to sleep earlier so I can do things like get up earlier. Let's say 3 hours before I have to leave for work, to be able to, write, to be able to read, to be able to work out and exercise. I like early morning workouts. I prefer that, but my schedule doesn't always, it's not always available for that. So there have been times when I've gotten up intentionally earlier so I can just get on a treadmill and run or walk for a mile, right? That way, no matter what I did the rest of my day, I would have walked a mile, right? And that's a goal personally for myself. So those are things I've sacrificed, right? Sometimes I guess you want to call it sacrifice. I have, changed the amount that I eat. Sometimes I'm just not hungry, but sometimes I will intentionally, not eat until, later in the day. I will give up or sacrifice breakfast. Now, while I do believe that that could be an important meal to the day, everyone's system is different. And so for you, you have to know for you what works. For me, I don't always necessarily need to eat first thing in the morning. That's not always the case for me. But you have to choose what's best for you, right? Sometimes sacrifice looks like I've oftentimes not had dessert. Now, I love dessert. I absolutely adore dessert. Dessert is one of my favorite things in life. Yes, I know I said it. I love dessert. There are times when I've chosen to sacrifice eating dessert during the week, and then over the weekend, I may bake something or make something or get something that's a sweet treat that I will have, over the weekend. Or if I want something sweet during the week, I will not have a piece of cake that I really want, or a muffin, and maybe I'll just do some apple and a nut butter, or apple and some peanut butter pretzels or something like that. And that's a healthy snack, by the way. It's actually pretty good. But I'll do a healthier snack that still gives me some benefit of some kind of sweet, which would be the apple, right? And so I'm just giving you some ideas of things I've sacrificed. I want you to, and I'm just imploring you and sharing with you just ways that you can make sacrifices, but I want you to look at sacrifice as not necessarily a negative thing, right? Because sacrifice can sometimes be beneficial. So I'll go back to what I asked. What in your life could you sacrifice for an hour, for a day, for a week, for a month? What is it that you can sacrifice to have better physical energy? What is it that you can sacrifice to have better mental clarity? What is it you can sacrifice to add to your knowledge base, right? What is it you can add or sacrifice to add to that knowledge and that skill to help you in your job or your career, right? What is it that you can sacrifice, right, that can help you to get more skills, abilities, knowledge to be able to start and launch your business, right? What can you sacrifice? I'll give you a quick example. When I was thinking about business, and I've had several businesses over the course of maybe the last 10, 15 years, I would work full time. There was a time when I would work full time and I was going to school full time, and I was tired. But one of the things I would sacrifice sometimes was sleep. Now, was it the healthiest thing? Maybe not in the long run. But sometimes it just looked like an hour or two. And sometimes after work, if I didn't have school, I would come home and I would, when I had time, and I did everything, whether, cook, ate, whatever, had my phone conversations with the people I loved, I would then sometimes take a half an hour to an hour and I would start researching and sometimes buying ingredients or things to help me in the creation, because I used to make lotions and creams. I would, look at, how would you formulate a thick cream? I would look at what ingredients I already had. I would purchase and make orders of ingredients. I was also like looking at possibly building a website. So I began to research people I can get to help me build it if I didn't know how to make it, or even if it was easy for me to make it. I use YouTube as a big resource for that, by the way. And so I'm just giving you an example of a way that I sacrificed to be able to help to get closer to my goal of a business, right? Another thing you can do in terms of sacrifice when it comes to starting a business, is your investment. Not just your investment of time, but maybe a monetary investment. If you have it, if you can, maybe not eating out, 10 times a week. Not eating lunch, always eating out lunch at work, and instead making meal preps, pre-planning lunch and bringing lunch to work, and maybe taking half or a piece or all of what you would normally spend on a lunch meal or even a dinner meal if you do that, and putting that aside and taking that investment and investing it in yourself, in your business, in your purpose and your mission. So I'm just here to, like I said, remind you a way to reframe sacrifice. Sacrifice can be a good thing, especially when you're doing it for the betterment of you first and then others. So I hope this video was helpful. Thank you so much for joining me. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. I also want to share with me in the comments, if you can, what are you sacrificing today and what would be the benefit in that sacrifice, right? What are you sacrificing today? What will be the benefits in that sacrifice? And also, if you've enjoyed this content, please subscribe to the channel and then click the link in my bio and join my free VIP group. Coming over to the VIP group, coming over to the community where we share more love, more life, more inspiration, and a greater reminder consistently of the greatness that you have inside of you and that you are. All right, thank you so much for your time again. I look forward to seeing you next time, and until then, be well and have a good one.